Tonight, the Lord Advocate says briefing the First Minister about charges against the SNP's former Chief Executive did not offer political advantage. It's emerged Dorothy Bain gave John Swinney details of the charges against Peter Murrell before they were made public.
This process protects the administration of justice and does not, I believe, confer any political advantage.
This smacks of corruption. It undermines public trust in the office of the Lord Advocate.
Also making the headlines, a former gamekeeper says the police investigation into the death of a man he's accused of murdering was a monumental shambles. How will Scotland support its ageing population? We look at the big questions from older voters ahead of the Scottish Parliament election. And in sport, Martin O'Neill calls for unity with some fans still banned from Celtic Park. I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. A former gamekeeper has told a court that the police investigation into the death of a man he's accused of murdering was a monumental shambles. David Campbell also said he had nothing to do with the death of Brian Lowe, who was found shot dead in Aberfeldy in February 2024. Lynn Rankin reports.
It's 2 years this week since Brian Lowe was found dead on a rural path near Aberfeldy. He had been shot in the neck and chest. Today, the man accused of his murder gave a full day of evidence. David Campbell was asked about the initial police investigation that ruled that Brian Lowe's death was not suspicious before launching a murder inquiry several days later. David Campbell said they made a monumental shambles of the whole investigation. To say after the pictures I have seen and hear it was a non-suspicious death is ridiculous. The court heard of the moment David Campbell was arrested at his home on the 24th of May 2024, more than 2 months after Brian Lowe was found dead. He said he was naked on the toilet when 2 police officers burst in and handcuffed him. He said that made him feel not good and impacted his mood during his police interview. Asked if he was rude to officers, Mr. Campbell replied, "I said a lot of things I should never have said." More than once he pushed back when officers said it was a murder. Mr. Campbell said accidental shootings happen all the time. The court was shown Ring doorbell footage from David Campbell's house on Saturday the 17th of February 2024, the day Brian Lowe's body was found. Mr. Campbell is seen leaving his house with a cartridge bag over his shoulder. Defence advocate Tony Lenihan said that bag had never been found by police and asked Mr. Campbell, "Where is it?" Mr. Campbell said, "Somewhere where I'll never see it again." Mr. Lenihan asked, "What does that mean?" Mr. Campbell replied, "I've said what I've said." Mr. Campbell admitted taping over his Ring doorbell as he thought another Ring doorbell had been stolen. He also said he had been unaware that he'd turned off CCTV covering the front of his house. The 77-year-old was asked outright if he'd had anything to do with the death of Brian Lowe. He said, "I most certainly did not." David Campbell will continue giving evidence tomorrow. Lynn Rankin, STV News.
Opposition leaders have demanded to know why the First Minister was given details of criminal charges against the former SNP Chief Executive Peter Murrell before they became public. The Lord Advocate emailed John Swinney last month informing him that Mr Murrell had been accused of embezzling almost £460,000. The Conservatives and Labour both called for the country's top law officer to explain her action in Parliament. Our political editor Colin Mackay is there. So Colin, did she?
Well, do you know what? It's not often that the Lord Advocate comes to explain herself and answer questions in the Parliament, but she did today. This is all about Peter Murrow, the estranged husband of Nicola Sturgeon. He was chief executive of the SNP, and it was during his time in that role that he's been charged with embezzling almost £460,000 from party funds. He was expected in court on Friday this week, but that hearing's been postponed until after the election in May, and there was a row about the timing of that in Parliament yesterday. Ministers were at pains to point out that decision on timing was taken by the judge, not by them. Today's row, though, is about a letter from the Lord Advocate Dorothy Bain to the First Minister last month, making it clear that the case was live. The letter was sent on the 19th of January, the same day as the indictment was served. It said the charge is that Peter Murrow embezzled £459,046.49p from the Scottish National Party. The Lord Advocate said just in the last half hour that this kind of note to the First Minister had happened before, but she couldn't say how often. So the Conservatives and Labour are angry that the First Minister was given advance notice and given the figure from the Lord Advocate Dorothy Bain, who's a member of his government, but as she makes clear in this letter, she's not been involved in this case. Here's some of the exchanges we've just had in Parliament.
My notification was done to advise Scottish ministers that an indictment had been served, confirm that the appropriate processes had been followed in relation to law officers not being involved in the decision-making in the case, and remind them that it would not be appropriate to make any public comment on the matter. This process protects the administration of justice and does not, I believe, confer any political advantage.
That information conferred clear political advantage to the First Minister. This absolutely stinks. On what planet is it not political interference?
This smacks of corruption. It undermines public trust in the office of the Lord Advocate, who's supposed to be politically neutral. Any remnants of that neutrality are in ruins. So can the Lord Advocate tell me if she is considering her position?
I am not considering my position. I am answering to Parliament today. But it really isn't appropriate to comment on the substance of a live case beyond matters of process.
Strong words in the Parliament there. Colin, is this the end of it?
No chance. This came up at Prime Minister's Questions in the Commons last week. It came up here yesterday. Today, you're absolutely guaranteed it will come up at First Minister's Questions tomorrow. Although John Swinney has also already faced questions on it today from reporters.
This is a live criminal case and I'm not going to make any comment about it.
Why was it not made public earlier? This was known then?
This is a live criminal case and I'm not going to make any comment on it.
Will you be making a statement at some point on this issue?
Well, Parliament has got to be very clear about the importance of respecting the independence of the criminal process within our country and within our courts, and I intend to respect that.
If he answers in the same way tomorrow, it could be the shortest First Minister's Questions ever.
Colin at Holyrood, thank you. This week we've been looking at the big issues affecting voters ahead of this year's Scottish Parliament election. In our final report, we turn to older voters and ask, can Scotland's health and care sector support the country's ageing population? And is it still possible to live off your pension while living costs continue to rise? Lucy Dunn has more.
Ahead of May's Scottish Parliament election, politicians face a difficult balancing act, encouraging economic growth while supporting ageing communities and an increasing number of pensioners. Kathleen isn't quite ready to step away from her job yet, but she hopes making her HR company successful now will support her in her retirement. However, as a small business owner, this won't be straightforward.
I've seen some of my clients having to think about redundancies or make redundancies in order to remain viable. I think other grant funding to help with training and also reskilling I think is really super key. And then I actually think bringing more over 50s back into the workplace would be good.
Many pensioners are concerned with the rising costs of food, travel and household bills and the lack of money going into Scotland's communities.
Certainly not a lot of investments. I mean, I travel about Scotland quite a lot, and you go to wee villages in town, like just say Lochary and stuff like that, which is actually not too bad, but when you go to places like Lord Gilpay, the Rishit and stuff like that, and Argyll, they're pretty much run down.
Well, pensions for a kick-off. I get a small old age pension, I get a small workplace pension. I've still got to pay full rent, full council tax.
Immigration is consistently one of the top 5 priorities for Scottish voters, and older people, particularly men over the age of 55, are especially likely to trust Reform UK on this issue. And it recently had a councillor elected in the West Lothian town of Whitburn.
This area was a Labour stronghold for decades, but it's now represented by a Reform councillor, the party's first electoral success in Scotland.
The biggest challenge is the immigrants, I think.
The cost of living. Sky high. Employment. Lack of jobs.
Health and social care is another top priority for Scotland's elderly population. Initiatives like meal makers allow volunteers to cook meals for those who cannot do so themselves, helping them live at home for longer and keeping them company during the day.
Even a 15-minute conversation can do much to their, it can really benefit them in case of their mental health issues as well. They have something to look forward to in the day. I think, you leave them happier.
Hello David, how are you?
So social interaction is essential for everybody. I think very easy for people who have reached a certain age to be sidelined and forgotten about because they're not so visible, but still an important part of society.
Rising bills and a stretched care sector pose serious challenges to those moving out of work. Ahead of the Scottish Parliament election, Scotland's pensioners are looking to politicians to find the missing piece of the puzzle. Lucy Dunn, STV News.
A man from Motherwell has been jailed for 5 years after police found £2.5 million worth of cocaine in the boot of his car. Stuart Wilson was stopped for speeding at over 100 miles per hour on the M6 last August. Officers discovered 25 kilograms of cocaine in a box when searching the BMW. Campaigners in Mull have lost a legal challenge against plans to build a new school in the north of the island. Argyll and Bute Council is looking to create a new £43 million campus close to the current high school in Tobermory. Many parents have asked for a more central location to save pupils long journeys, but a judge at the Court of Session in Edinburgh has found the council acted lawfully. The rising costs of everyday essentials like food and petrol could be easing as the rate of inflation has dropped to 3%. The downward trend is the lowest seen since March last year and has been welcomed by the UK government. But small businesses say they're still feeling the pinch. This report from Tara Fitzpatrick.
Every time there is a shortage of an ingredient, the price hikes enormously. We've had like double-digit 20-30% increases in sugar and chocolate. It's quite unpredictable sometimes. You don't really see it coming.
For this Glasgow bakery, year-on-year price rises have been taking their toll. Today's news of a 10-month low inflation drop is a sweet relief, but is being met with caution.
It's definitely going in the right direction. We've not seen the impact, and I'm not sure how quickly we will. We're still trying to catch up with the big NI increase last year. National and living wage increases are coming up in April, which is 7%. It also doesn't include rent and rates, which we've had massive hikes on, double, triple. I would be concerned unless they were all brought under control that it will go back up again.
Inflation decreased to 3% in January. That's down from 3.4% in December. It means prices are still rising, just less quickly, but it is the lowest rate in almost a year. The price of food, non-alcoholic drinks and petrol are the biggest contributors. Now there's hope that next month's interest rates could drop from the current 3.75%.
Our plan to bring down inflation, to bring down the cost of borrowing, that is working. We'll see more evidence of that in the months ahead when those budget measures that I took in my budget last year come through. Inflation moving back towards target, 6 cuts so far in interest rates, creating the conditions for investment and growth in our economy.
The inflation drop isn't quite the long-standing 2% target set by the Bank of England, but economists say this could be reached later this year. In the meantime, small businesses are opening their doors to continued uncertainty.
It shouldn't be the only figure that we look at. It doesn't paint the full picture. It excludes all the key things that we are struggling with as small businesses.
Tara Fitzpatrick, STV News.
Ronnie has a very smart suit. We'll not talk about the tie, but the suit's very smart.
See, he likes it, folks. He likes it.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith End of Winter Sale.
Although I'm always looking smart on the STV Sport desk. Anyway, good evening. Martin O'Neill admits it's regrettable they'll head into tomorrow night's Europa League playoff tie with Stuttgart, with some fans still banned from Celtic Park, but says progress is being made after the club held talks with supporters groups. The game is one to remember for the Parkhead boss, his 1,000th game as a football manager.
It's an atmosphere renowned across world football. Celtic Park on a European night. But in recent times it's become a lot quieter in the stands at Parkhead, with some supporters groups banned by the club due to alleged poor behaviour. The club has held talks with fans' representatives to try and resolve the issues. And as Celtic enter the business end of the season and welcome German side Stuttgart tomorrow, Martin O'Neill says unity is key.
A full house here at Celtic Park is something special. It's every European night that I've had in the past, way back then, was just filled with special moments. Little bits have been lost from that, and that's regrettable. I think there has been some discussions. I think that there's been some progress made, so that there is unity at Celtic Park, the better. No doubt at all that the crowd behind the goal on Sunday contributed greatly to us fighting back in the game.
Meanwhile, as the club prepare for the first leg of their playoff tie against the German side, it's a significant game for the Celtic manager. The 73-year-old will take charge of his 1,000th game as a football manager, having started almost 40 years ago.
It's a real surprise because I'd never counted the games, genuinely never. When the LMA told me yesterday about it, it did come as a big surprise to me. It's nice to do, and it's really pleasing, but I have to thank Celtic for doing it, otherwise it wouldn't have happened.
Now, despite their defeat to Rangers last weekend, Derek McInnes says it would be wrong for the Old Firm or anyone else to write Hearts off in the title race. The result at Ibrox cut the gap to just 2 points at the top of the table, but McInnes says his players have the quality and resilience to withstand the pressure.
We feel the pressure on ourselves. We've been there that long, then the disappointment would be so much, you know what I mean, where actually it shouldn't, you know what I mean. It's like, I think Claudio said something post-match, since it's like 41 years or something since a team has actually been talked about like this and actually managed to win the league. So people would be wrong to dismiss us. We're still sitting top of the league, and we have got such a strong home record. Hopefully we can, as I say, make some hay with the upcoming fixtures.
Now to the huge game tonight, and Motherwell's Liam Gordon says fans should be dreaming of lifting the Scottish Cup this season because he feels the squad under Jean's Bertalascu have the quality to do so. They take on Aberdeen at Pittodrie in their rescheduled last 16 tie, and Chris Harvey's there for us.
Yes, absolutely, Ronnie. This is the place to be tonight. Pittodrie, it's got football back on. It hasn't seen a game since January. Tonight, though, an absolute barnstormer. Aberdeen against Motherwell, a rearranged Scottish Cup tie, a fight to the death. These two have met each other 4 times this season, and Motherwell have yet to lose. There can't be a draw tonight. It is a fight to the death. And we don't have to look too much further back than Sunday to see their last meeting. Motherwell comfortable 2-0 winners at Fir Park. They've every right to be confident going into this one.
Play to win, and it's a good opportunity to take the next step. We know we're going to face a top team. It was a difficult game the other day, and I expect it to be more difficult. They have their home crowd behind them, and they are desperate to obviously progress and defend that title.
Everyone should dream. Everyone has dreams and aspirations, and it's not any different with us in that changing room. We obviously want to go and do special things in our career, and obviously to have an opportunity of a silverware for a club like Motherwell would be would be amazing.
Well, the Dons still don't have a manager. They have the interim pairing in charge. There hasn't really been an uptick. They do have the skipper Graham Shinnie back from suspension, but this is going to be a hell of a test for them if they are to defend their cup. They will need to beat one of the cup favourites in Motherwell here tonight. Kick-off is at 7:45.
Finally to the Winter Olympics, where Team GB's men and women's curlers kept their medal hopes alive today. But it was skip Rebecca Morrison from Glasgow who stole the show. Just Team also recorded a much-needed win over America. They need either Norway or Italy to be beaten tomorrow for them to progress to the semis.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith End of Winter Sale.
High drama in the curling. Who thought we'd say that?
What a shot that was.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Right, talking about keep going. Weather, Sean. And we're about to hit a landmark.
A big milestone on the way.
That's the word I was looking for. That's the word I was looking for.
That was it. Milestone on the way. Wait for this. 12 degrees by the weekend.
Wow.
Don't get too excited about it. Lots of rain on the way. But yes, do you know, it's actually the longest we've had to wait to reach 12 degrees since 1986. 40 years. That's how long it's taken to get that far, to 12 degrees. Just to put that into context for you, the last couple of years we've actually reached 15 in January. So to wait this long, all the way to the end of February, to get to 12, pretty disappointing. But the warmer air that comes this weekend comes at the same time as warm air across Spain. They could be in the mid-20s, but you know what it means for us? Plenty of rain. Let's have a look.
An icy start to the day will give way to a series of oohs and ahs. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
So the temperatures the next couple of days manage for the first time this year to get above average, and it stays that way into the early part of next week. Beyond that, the end of the month into the start of March, you can see there's a bit of a dip here. Don't worry too much about it. It's nothing overly extreme. It just means that temperatures are going to come back to roughly where they should be. So we get that spike into the weekend before they tail off towards the end of the month. Now, a cold one's still out there tonight. A lot of cloud for many of us, but it still remains dry. We hang on to shower outbreaks of rain, though, across parts of the Hebrides, so we hang on to the damp weather here. Windy weather as well. Temperatures 2-3 degrees Celsius, so a chilly old night, especially in that wind. Now, early on tomorrow, the cloud could just about be thick enough across parts of Lanarkshire, Ayrshire, Glasgow, Dunbartonshire, Renfrewshire for some outbreaks of rain, maybe a wee bit of sleet at low levels, a little bit of snow over the tops of our hills here as well. Now, tomorrow, for most of us, at least around lunchtime, it becomes drier, brighter, but then we start to see more rain coming back into the Hebrides later on, so really to sum tomorrow up, a few showers central parts to start with, then mostly dry, brighter, before we see rain coming into the very far west later on. Friday, not looking so great out there. Lots of rain, at least to start with, but hopefully drier and brighter in the afternoon. A lot milder, but it will be quite windy. But then on Saturday, unfortunately, a dry start to the day further east before more heavy rain comes in from the west. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, you may remember last month we reported on a tiny kitten found abandoned on a train from Helensburgh to Edinburgh. Well, it's a happy ending for the furry feline. She's been adopted by one of the ScotRail workers who found her. The cat, who's been renamed Daisy, is now happy at home with her new owner, Marie. Really wonder who owns who there. From all of us here, thank you for watching. Scotland Tonight, 10:40, don't forget. Have a good evening. Good night.